Hey everyone, welcome back to Still Respawning. In the last devlog, I wrapped up the Unity Essentials course by completing the final project, a basic driving game, where I learned how to apply physics, manage collisions, and get my first player-controlled prototype on screen. We also touched on using time.delta time, clean up the scene, hierarchy, and add polish to the game flow. So this week in Devlog 8, I stepped into a juniors program pathway, and it kicked off with something a little more technical, custom vehicle controls. I built on what I learned in the last devlog, started giving the player actual input control over the vehicle, steering, acceleration, rotation, and more. Oh, I may have made a plane fly. So let's get into it. So in last week's devlog, I worked on putting the visuals together for the driving simulator. And this devlog, it's all about getting it to move, going forward, backward, and turning using arrow keys. So to start, I had a public turn speed variable in the player controller script and applied it to move the car left and right using transform.translate. At this point, the car could slide around, but didn't feel right. It needed input, real player input. So I headed into Unity's input manager and grabbed the horizontal axis. I added a horizontal input variable, assigned it using input.x axis, and plugged it into the car's movement. Now instead of gliding with inspector sliders, the player could steer the car. A lot better. And of course, driving isn't just turning. We also need gas and brakes. So just like the horizontal inputs, I did the same for forward. So I had a new forward input variable and set it up with the vertical axis. Exactly the same way as I did for the horizontal axis. This allowed the car to move forward and backward when the up and down arrow keys were pressed. But something still felt a bit floaty with the car. The vehicle was sliding sideways instead of rotating like a real car. So to fix this, I swapped out the left-right translate line for the transform.rotate. Now when the player presses left or right, the car turns on its y-axis like a real steering wheel. It felt like an actual driving sim, not just a box sliding on a plane. And before moving on, I took some time to tidy up the hierarchy and scripts. I grouped all the obstacles into a parent game object called obstacles, and clean the code by making variable private and initializing values properly. Commenting the script also made it easy to follow later. A full small cleanups go a long way in making the project feel more professional. As I said before, taking the time to do this now makes it a lot easier for us to find out where there are issues later on. With driving sorted, it was time to take to the skies. And these challenges were basically to find the bugs within the preset game and work it out. The challenge weren't tasked with turning that knowledge into flight mechanics for a plane. Of course, it didn't go smoothly right away. The plane was going backwards, way too fast, and tilting on its own. So I had to adjust the movement to use vector 3 forward. I slowed the speed down with time.delta time and made sure tilt only happened when the player actually pressed the keys. And was also in front of the plane, so I had to reposition it beside the aircraft and set up a simple follow script using an offset. This gives a much better view and it actually now tracked the plane properly. As a little bonus, I added a spinning propeller. So I created a spin propeller X script that rotated the child object every frame. It's a small touch, but one that makes the whole thing feel a lot more alive. So that wraps up Devlog 8. This week, I moved beyond basic Unity movement and gave players full control of a vehicle and even converted it into a working plane. It's been a solid step into scripting, user input, and proper object control. Next time in Devlog 9, I'll be diving into Unity's extra car simulator challenge, easy, medium, and hard. So if you're following along with the junior program course or just want to see what these extra challenges look like in action, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.